Hello, Roman. My name's Shalise. This is the JJ Movie Social Game Reviews. Right now, I'm doing a very special review. It's the top 5 Spider-Man movies. Now, here's the thing. I love Spider-Man since it came out in the comics. I love the animated TV shows. I watched the new TV shows. This bit Spectacular Spider-Man. I watched that show. I liked it. And I watched all 5 movies, including the Andrew Garfield ones and Sam Raimi's ones. So let's start off with number 5 of all the Spider-Man movies. And number 5 is our Spider-Man 3. Now, here's the thing. When I first saw this film, I hated it. But now that I look back at it, it's not that, like, I don't hate it that much anymore. I still think it's definitely the weakest of all the 5 Spider-Man films, but there are some good moments I did enjoy. I like the stuff with Harry Osborn in the beginning. I love how Venom got the symbiote, the black symbiote that becomes Venom, goes into Spider-Man, how it changes his personality. I like that. I just didn't like him snapping his fingers, raindrops keep falling on my and not raindrops keep falling on my head. He's just dancing around, snapping his fingers, and I was just so annoyed. And the Sandman thing is pretty cool. It's just I didn't like the end. If anything, they should have saved Venom for the 4th movie and really made the Spider-Man versus the Sandman or Spider-Man versus the Green Goblin again instead of just Spider-Man versus 3 villains. I didn't like the character that played Topher Grace that played Eddie Brock. I did not enjoy him as Venom. I did not enjoy him as Eddie Brock. The special effects are amazing, and the action is a lot better than all the other original Spider-Man films. But overall, I enjoyed this. I enjoy part of this film very much. It's not my favorite. And I'm going to give it a 6.8 out of 10. It's a bad film, but there are some good moments, and it could easily make an okay list for me in the near future later on. I grew to dislike it now. I used to hate it, now I just dislike it. And now I just find it's a bad film, but it could be an okay film later on. So yeah, it could get better. So yeah, number 5, Spider-Man 3. Number 4 is our The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, this starred Andrew Garfield, and here's the thing. Andrew Garfield is a great and good Spider-Man for his beginning, and it's the fact that he's British. He did a good American accent. Like his relationship with Gwen Stacy, Peter Parker's Gwen Stacy. I liked Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone's chemistry. They had perfect chemistry. The origin of how Uncle Ben went, I didn't like how Uncle Ben went in this film, but overall the problem is not the Spider-Man, it's not his love interest. It doesn't suffer from the original Spider-Man flaws. This suffers from the villain. The Lizard is not a great villain at all. I like the whole Spider-Man during high school. I love how he's the scientific genius. I like that. But there's missing Jameson, there's missing an actual credible villain. I like Gwen Stacy's father in this, and the suit grew on me. I like the Spider-Man suit, and I thought it was a good film, and this is a solid film. It's just the Lizard could have been better as a villain, and overall, out of a 10, I'm giving this a solid 8 out of 10. This is a good film. Amazing Spider-Man, number 4. Now, number 3 is the first Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man. Now, here's the thing. The upside-down kiss we have with Mary Jane and Peter Parker, Kirsten Dunst, and Tobey Maguire also have good chemistry. It's a little bit lacking on some scenes, just like in the beginning, but that's because they're both new. Just like Andrew Garfield and Gwen Stacy, there was little things I didn't like about it. Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, their chemistry a little bit, just like Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst chemistry, and I think it could have been like a little bit better, but it's just the beginning, so it's not their fault. But the Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man, is so good. I love Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn. I also love him as Norman Osborn. It's just the suit kind of ruined it. I love the fight scene, and I really enjoyed this film. I loved his relation with Aunt May, Ben, his Uncle Ben. I loved it. I love the wrestling scene. I love this film. It's one of my favorite Spider-Man films of all time. So out of a 10, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. Very great start to the Spider-Man entire franchise. So yeah, number 3. And number 2, well, it was difficult, but it's The Amazing Spider-Man, the new one with Gwen Stacy, Harry Osborn, and Jamie Foxx as Electro. Now, here's the only fault of these films. Let's just say this. The only fault is Rhino in this movie, and sometimes, like, there's these little corny moments that feels like a soap opera moment, but I don't care about that. Not really. Of course, this has to me, this has so many great moments. We found out what happens to Peter Parker's parents, what happens to them. I love Sally Field's performance as May in this one. I love Andrew Garfield's. At first, I saw the trailer. The action didn't look that great, but The action scenes really got intense. I love Jamie Foxx's character as Electro. Love how he's kind of a sympathetic villain at the end. I mean, at the beginning, then the end, he's a full-fledged villain. Same thing like Harry Osborn. I like what they did with Harry Osborn in this. Norm Osborn going away and dying. To me, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 has so many great moments. This, for the next generation of people, kids who grew up with the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, well, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is just as strong as the original Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man 2, at just heart of Spider-Man. What Spider-Man is willing to sacrifice for the city, and what Spider-Man is trying to do for the city, and no matter what, with his relationship with Gwen Stacy and where everything else that he's going on with his friends and everything, he was always going to be Spider-Man, and I love that fact. Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a great Spider-Man film. I love this film. It's a 9.4 out of 10. This surpasses Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man, and I really want to put this higher, but this to me is my second favorite Spider-Man movie, and it nearly just beat the first one. But again, my number one is none other than Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Now here's the thing, if people grew up with Spider-Man 2 or The Amazing Spider-Man, they're both two good films. They both show a good love story, some pretty dang good villains, and the whole point of Spider-Man and Peter Parker that he will always be Spider-Man, and he will always try to do what's best for New York City. These two films have brought Spider-Man to the next level. This started it off, this one also brought it to the next generation of explaining who Spider-Man is. Now Spider-Man 2 has Dr. Octopus, more J.J. Jameson, Kirsten Dunst, or whatever, Tobey Maguire and her. They have great chemistry. I love James Franco as Harry Osborn. And he hasn't fully went to the Goblin, to be a Goblin yet, and like in Spider-Man 3, I still overall enjoyed this film. I have Spider-Man 2, I have Spider-Man 2.1, which is an extra 8 minutes of films. I love Dr. Octopus in this one. I love how Peter Parker is basically, he can't make rent. He's not doing good in school, and I love this entire film. So yeah, Spider-Man 2 is my favorite superhero film of all time. It's my favorite Spider-Man film of all time. I love this film. Now overall, what they're going to do for Spider-Man, the main Spider-Man 3, they're probably going to do like 6 villains for Spider-Man. It's interesting what's going to happen with that. But yeah, that's my top 5 list. Spider-Man 3 is number 5. It'll grow on you. Number 4 is none other than Amazing Spider-Man, a good film, just like in The Lizard, with the villain The Lizard. Number 3 will never then be the Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man. Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man was very good. It's just the acting was a little bit on and off, and the Green Goblin suit was messed up. And 2 was The Amazing Spider-Man. I really enjoyed that film. The only thing I couldn't stand was Rhino, but still, overall, a great film. Number 1 is my Spider-Man 2. Always will be my favorite superhero film of all time. So, yeah, that's the top 5 Spider-Man movies. Let me know what y'all think, everyone. Subscribe if you like, disagree with me or not. Let me know what y'all think, everyone. Bye-bye.